Hi, everybody. Welcome again to Ivy English. I'm Bruce.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Wesley.
Today, May 6th, we have a fairly long article. The question, which is a title, Do bulls see red when they see red?
好，我们的中文标题是斗牛真的讨厌红色吗？不过这英文标题呢玩一个文字游戏哈，因为英文里面呢 see red 可以是个片语哈，它的意思就是生气哈 to be extremely angry 或者 to become angry 的意思。
And it's also like a very sudden kind of anger, just like and you're angry.
而且通常是一种突然之间的生气哈，叫 see red， 好像你看到一个什么东西突然之间就发脾气那种感觉哈。但是这个句子前面，所以这个句子前面讲说 Do bulls see red？ 公牛真的会生气吗？那 when they see red， 那后面这个 see red 就看到红色的时候，所以公牛看到红色的时候真的会生气吗？这是我们英文标题的意思。
Okay, stand by as I read through the article, and then all three of us will join in explaining everything you need to know. In some Spanish-speaking countries, one of the more famous traditions is bullfighting. In a stadium, a lone man faces a bull inside a ring. This Matador uses a large cape to attract the bull's attention, eventually enraging it. The bull charges the sword-wielding Matador, who is ready to skillfully sidestep the massive beast and wound the animal. Finally, the weakened bull makes one last charge at the Matador, who then uses a smaller red cape. Do bulls become angry when they see red? Most people have come to believe that the red-colored cape stirs anger in the beast. In fact, cattle lack the red retina receptor and thus do not have the ability to see red at all. Objects with a red hue are seen by cows and bulls as yellowish-gray, so the red used in bullfighting equipment has nothing to do with the animal's behavior. Why, then, does a bull charge a matador? The Discovery Channel's Mythbusters series conducted an interesting experiment to try and explain why. They first placed 3 stationary flags colored red, blue, and white in an arena with a bull. The bull charged all 3. The stationary flags were then replaced by 3 dummies, each with one color. Again, the bull charged all 3. Finally, they used real humans, each dressed in one color. The man dressed in red stood still, while the men in white or blue moved around the ring. The bull attacked the latter too, not the man dressed in red. This proved that red is not a factor in why bulls charge matadors. The whipping and swirling movement of their capes most likely angers the bull. So, why use a red cape at all? The answer? The red color better disguises the bloody end of the poor beast.
So basically the red is just symbolic for humans.
Really?
I think. I mean, that's based on this article. That seems to be the result. Although I'm interested. It's such a cultural thing. We even have a phrase based on it. It's kind of weird that suddenly it turns out that bulls don't really see red. So I want to know more. I'm like, really? Sure?
Yeah, 好，所以很多人可能从小到大都觉得，斗牛就是因为这个牛看到红色会这个特别的生气哈，结果事实证明不是这样子啊，那个。红色其实只是就像最后一句讲，它只是要掩饰好这个最后这一只牛被杀的时候可能那个流很多血啊，那人身上可能也会沾到血啊等等那个血腥的场面。
So in some Spanish-speaking countries, most notably Spain.
Yeah.
No, I'm laughing because on the internet somebody was like, why does everyone say Spanish? They say that they're Spanish. Spanish is just a language like English. And it's like, did you know there's a country named Spain? Anyways, that's just recently on the internet. So in some Spanish-speaking countries, because more than Spain speaks Spanish, most of South America also speaks Spanish. Now, one of the more famous traditions is bullfighting. I'm sure you guys have heard about bullfighting.
Yeah. 所以在一些说西班牙语的国家啊，那 有一个比较著名的传统之一哈 ，one of the more famous traditions 是什么呢？简单的就是斗牛 Bullfighting。那注意重音也是在第一个音节哈 Bullfighting。
And here's a description of bullfighting. In a stadium, a lone man faces a bull inside a ring. Now, a stadium is very often a ring-shaped or circular-shaped area where activity takes places, and people sit around raised platforms to look down on the arena or stadium to see what's happening.
The interesting thing that we're using this word arena in terms of stadium, like stadium and arena means the same thing. But arena comes from the word for sand in Spain. And because arenas originally had a sandy floor, because that's the most easy replaceable floor that you can do in an arena.
好，所以 arena 我们讲的是竞技场哈。那这个事实上呢，在西班牙文里面的这个 arena 这个字，它是跟沙有关哈。所以
It just means sand.
它的意思就是沙。
Arena, yeah.
OK 好，所以呢，其实就是各位可以想到，在竞技场里面啊，那个地面大概都是沙哈。沙也有好处啦，就是有什么血腥很容易就盖过去了。好，所以呢
or you can replace it easily.
Yeah， 而且很容易这个替换哈。那所以看到这个句子，他说在一个竞技场里面 ，stadium 啊，在这里就是竞技场啊。那 a lone man 哈，这个 lone 这个字呢是 without company 啊 ，unaccompanied 就是指独自一人哈。你可以用另外一个比较深一点的叫 solitary 啊，就是独自一人的。那 solitary 就是 solitary 哈，所以一个独自一人的一个人哈。当我们看到英文里面看到 a lone man， 感觉起来他大概要么就是感觉就是很勇敢那种感觉啊，一个人独自面对这一切的问题啊。所以呢，一个独自的一个人呢啊，他怎么样 faces 在这里呢是面对，但这个面对呢其实是 be confronted by 的意思哈，他这个面对一个挑战，面对一个很危险的东西，用这个 faces 在这里。
I think that's the point, actually. The whole point is that the Matador shows their courage, their elegance, and their grace, and also their mercy.Yeah,
and their skill.
And their skill. Well, all of that is skill, but yeah, those are the qualities of the person that they're supposed to demonstrate through this act of murdering a bull.
Yeah, 所以斗牛其实这个 the whole idea 哈，就是重点就是要看到这样一个人哈，斗牛士他的勇气哈，他可以独自面对一只生气的公牛啊。那 inside a ring 啊，这个 ring 在这里也是指竞技场。
Now, the Matador, in the process, this Matador, the man inside the ring, uses a large cape. A cape is, what's cape in Chinese?
斗篷或者披风 yeah.
So it's basically a large piece of cloth that's shaped to hang from your shoulders. And but instead of wearing it, the Matador will hold it. And also, I think there's like a piece of metal inside to help spread the cape out so that it's easier for him to whip it around. And they use the cape to attract the bull's attention, to make the bull pay attention to them. And eventually they will enrage it. They will make it angry because in order to do the ritual, you have to have the bull charging the person. And so the bulls aren't going to naturally charge somebody. Bulls are like very calm animals, actually. They're either completely calm or they're enraged and chasing you, but there's no middle ground. So they're going to be like, yeah, I'm in an arena. Yeah, what's up? Wait, what is that cape? Yeah, that's what happens to the bull.
好，所以这个 Matador 就是斗牛士哈，他用了一个很大的 cape 斗篷，好来 attract the bull's attention， 来吸引这只公牛的注意力。然后呢 ，eventually 就是最后哈，终于他会怎么样 ？enraging it 这个分词哈，最后他会激怒这一只公牛啊。enrage 就是激怒的意思哈 ，to provoke to fury 哈 ，provoke 就激。好，然后呢 ，fury 是愤怒啊，所以或者你可以 put into a rage 啊 ，rage 那也是愤怒的意思，或者是 enrage 就是激怒这只牛。
The bull charges the sword-wielding matador, who is ready to skillfully sidestep the massive beast and wound the animal. So you've all seen this in movies or TV programs. The bull charges, heads directly towards the matador, who has swords that he uses in certain ways as part of this tradition. Wielding simply means to hold or to have.
Doesn't it also imply that it's being, like, obviously held? It's like being brandished?
Yeah, moved around so that he's not trying to hide it. You can easily see him holding and using this sword.
好，刚刚这个 Angela 老师用到一个是 brandish， 好 ，brandish， 好 ，brandish 它就是挥舞的意思。那刚刚这个 Angela 老师提到就是这个 wield 这个字呢 ，wield 它基本上的意思就是 to handle or use a weapon， 所以中文把它翻成持，好，所以 sword wielding 就持剑的，他手上拿着剑的，好，那。Angela 说可能他通常这个剑他是不是也会挥呀，有挥舞呢？如果说有挥舞的话，我们很明确可以讲 brandish， 好，但是 wielding 的话呢，只是基本上持剑，他可能当然他是你看得很清楚他手上有剑那种感觉 yeah.
And the Matador is ready to skillfully sidestep. We can also say to step aside to get out of the direct line of the charging bull. And as that happens, he wields his swords and wounds, not yet kill, but first wounds the animal.
好，所以这一只公牛呢 charges 在这里就冲刺，对着什么什么冲锋，那他是对着这个 the sword wielding Matador 冲锋，那这一位斗牛士呢 who 就是指这个斗牛士 is ready to 他已经准备好了要 skillfully 就是很有技巧的 sidestep 就是这个跨到一边，就是 to step out of the way of 的意思。好，这里当然也可以，它其实就在 dodge，D-O-D-G-E，它在 dodge 或者是 evade，E-V-A-D-E 闪躲，所以他很有技巧的，他要准备好，他要闪到一边去，闪什么呢？闪这一个 the massive beast， 好，这里 massive beast 中文可以翻成巨兽，因为 massive 就是很巨大的 bulky and heavy， bulky B-U-L-K-Y， 那他闪到一边，然后呢，准备要 wound the animal， 他准备要让这个动物受伤。
Finally, the weakened bull makes one last charge at the matador. So the animal has been being stabbed progressively. And they don't stab them just anywhere. They only stab them in the hump behind the head because they don't want to injure their legs to make it harder for the bull to do its job. So, but the animal is being stabbed and it's leaking blood, so it's definitely weakened. But it's now super mad because who wouldn't be when you're being repeatedly stabbed? And then the matador, when they realize what's it's going to be the final showdown, basically. So the matador switches to this smaller red cape.
好，所以呢，这个地方最后终于the weakened 就是开始变得比较虚弱的，因为他受了伤，就变得比较虚弱的这一只公牛呢 makes one last charge 冲最后一次对着这个 matador 冲过去。那 who 就是指这个斗牛士呢 then 就是接着他就会怎么样呢？他就会使用一个比较小的一个红斗篷。
So, do bulls become angry when they see red? We go back to our title, and the rest of the article answers it.
Yeah, 所以第一段的结尾，所以提出他再一次提出这个问题。所以呢，牛看到红色的时候，真的会生气吗？
Most people have come to believe that the red-colored cape stirs anger in the beast. I mean, we've heard this story for so long that, honestly, until I read this article, I didn't know it wasn't true. We just assume that red makes somebody angry because in most cultures across the world, red is a very visible color to us, so we use it for super important things. And in European-based cultures, we use it as a negative pay attention thing, and in Eastern cultures, it's a positive pay attention thing. But both of them are about paying attention. So we think that, of course, if we use a red cape, then the bull must be paying attention to the red as well, and it turns out that we were wrong. If you've come to believe something, it means that over time, after being exposed to an idea, you agree that it's true.
好，所以 come to believe something 就是通常暗示就有一段时间，经过一段时间，你可能看到什么，听到什么，然后你慢慢的就相信了什么。好，所以这个句子讲说，大多数的人呢，慢慢都已经相信了红色的这个斗篷，好 ，the red-colored cape stirs anger。好 ，stir 这个字呢，就是搅起或者激起，好 ，provoke 又出现这个字 P-R-O-V-O-K-E。provoke 或者 arouse A-R-O-U-S-E 那或者 incite I-N-C-I-T-E 这些字呢同义字顺便一起学一学，你不一定全部背得起来，但是每一次接触都可以有点印象。
Just want to say provoke and incite are more negative. Incite being very negative, provoke being mildly negative, and arouse being neutral.
好，所以 incite 是非常 negative 那 provoke 就是有一点点 negative 那这个arouse 就比较 neutral 一点那所以它会激起他们的愤怒 in the beast.
In fact, cattle lack the red retina receptor. Retina is the inside of the eye where some cells are able to collect light and interpret it in terms of color, and thus do not have the ability to see red at all. You need a color receptor to see a color.
事实上呢，cattle 就是指牛，这是个集合名词。lack 就是没有，缺乏，他们缺乏呢这个红色的视网膜，retina 就是视网膜，那 receptor 是受体或者接受器，所以他们缺乏红色的视网膜受体，换句话说他们看不到红色，所以他底下说 and thus 就是 therefore consequently 他们 do not have the ability to 他们没有这个能力来 see red at all 看到红色，所以 at all 是根本，所以他们根本看不到红色，他们根本没有这个能力看到红色。
So objects with a red hue is just another way to say color. So these objects are seen by cows and bulls as yellowish gray. Red doesn't exist for them. So the red used in bullfighting equipment has nothing to do with the animal's behavior. The red is for people, not for the animals. If something has nothing to do with something, it means there's no relationship.
就是与什么什么无关has nothing to do with. 好，所以 objects with a red hue 就是带有红色的色调的颜色的物体hue 其实就是一个色调也可以说是个颜色那 are seen by cows and bulls 被母牛公牛看到的话呢 as 是把它看成 yellowish gray 就是微黄的灰色所以呢 the red used in bullfighting equipment 所以你用在这个斗牛的设备里面的这些红色这个地方这个设备 equipment 至少就指的那个斗篷红斗篷所以这个斗篷所用的那个红色呢 has nothing to do with 就与什么无关与 the animal's behavior 与这个动物的行为是没有关系的
Why then does a bull charge a matador? Good question, and the next paragraph answers it.
Yeah, 那为什么牛会冲向这一个斗牛士呢
I just want to mention that this is a good way to transition to an explanatory paragraph, is to ask the question in the end of the previous paragraph.
好，所以最后这一句呢，是用一个问句，其实是一个很好的一个桥梁，可以转接到下一个段落。因为下一个段落要提出解释，所以各位可以学起来。你要提出解释之前，也许可以这样问一个问题。
So the answer is this. The Discovery Channel's Mythbusters series, I highly recommend this series. You can learn so much from it. Adults learn so much from it. The world learns so much from it. It's interesting because they basically go, okay, this is said to be true. Is it really true? If you put Mentos in Coke, is it going to explode? That one is true. So it's worth looking at their stuff. So they did an interesting experiment to try and explain why. They wanted to explain why a bull charges a matador, even though the red is not an issue.
好，所以呢，这个探索频道The Discovery Channel 它的这个留言终结者这个 series 这个系列conducted 的受词是那个 experiment 所以 conduct an experiment 就是进行或者做了一个实验所以他们做了一个怎么样的实验呢 An interesting experiment 他们做了一个有趣的实验目的是要试着try and explain why 试着解释为什么这个地方当然你也可以说 try to explain why 但是用 try to explain why 的话就非常明显那个 object 就是他们试着的目的是要 explain why 但是如果你说 try and explain 它也有 try 也有 explain 它有想办法解释它也有解释两个都同时存在并没有很明显的目的关系
The next sentence helps us understand how they conducted their experiment. They first placed 3 stationary flags. They're not moving. People aren't carrying them around. We say they are planted into the sand. And each one has its own color. One is red, one is blue, one is white. And, of course, they put them in an arena. And, of course, you need a bull to conduct this experiment.
OK, 所以他们首先会 placed 就是放的意思放置3个 stationary 在这里是静止的意思注意另外一个字 文具呢也是听起来声音很像 stationary， 不过那是 N-E-R-Y， 好，那静止是 N-A-R-Y， 好，所以把它搞清楚。那有三面静止的旗子，好 ，colored 在这里其实就是 that are colored 的意思，就是颜色是红的、蓝的跟白的，好，放在哪里？放在一个竞技场里面，当然里面还有一只牛。
And the bull charged all three. So it was like red, blue, or white, I don't care. Going for it.
Yeah， 那结果那只牛呢，三个旗他们都冲过去。
The stationary flags were then replaced by 3 dummies, each with one color. Now, a dummy is a pretend person, so it could be made out of fabric or wood or whatever. Not real people.
好，那这个固定的三面旗呢，接着就被 were replaced by 被置换，好，就换成了三个假人或者人体模型。那每一个呢也是一样，一个颜色。
Again, the bull charged all three. So we're just saying the same sentence as 2 sentences ago, and this is actually a very interesting rhetorical mechanism. We're giving an example, we say the result. We give the example, we say again the same result. Then we give the third example, and then we say, this result was different. This is a very standard rhetorical argument structure.
好，所以这是一个很常见的一种这个修辞的方式啊，就是我们有三个东西啊，第一次试结果怎么样，第二次试结果怎么样，那这个第一次跟第二次结果都一样，所以我们用同样的句型表示。然后呢，到第三次就不一样了，这是换个句型，那这个就可以引起读者的注意力。好，所以这里他告诉再一次的，这牛呢，三个假人都冲过去了。
Finally, this is the third attempt at explaining why bulls, why they charge even though they can't see red. They, the people conducting the experiment, used real humans, people, each dressed in one color.So one was dressed in a red suit, one in white, and one in blue.
好，然后最后呢，他们用了三个真的人啊，每一个人 dressed in 穿着一个颜色。
The man dressed in red stood still. So this is the difference between this one and the previous 2 experiments. Instead of all 3 conditions being same and only the color being different, here the color was different and the conditions were different. The man dressed in red stood still, while the men in white or blue moved around the ring.The reason we used while instead of when is that while is talking about things that are happening over a period of time, happening at the same time. Whereas when would imply that there was some sort of result. The man stood still when the men in white or blue moved around the ring would be like first the guy stood still and then the other people moved around. So you have to use while in this sentence. So the men dressed in red stood still while the men in white or blue moved around the ring.
好，那这个地方讲，这个穿着红色的这个人呢，站在那边站定位，好，他没有动 ，stood still 就是站的定位。好，那 while 跟 when 的差别是 when 有的时候会有先后顺序，那 while 在这里就是指同时，而且感觉有点对比。好，一个人站定位，另外两个人呢，穿着白色跟蓝色衣服的人呢 ，moved 移动 around the ring 在场内到处移动。
The bull attacked the latter 2. The latter 2 are the men dressed in white.and blue, not the man dressed in red. Very interesting. It proves a point.
Yeah, 所以这牛呢攻击了那两个动来动去的，穿白的穿蓝的动来动去的牛去攻击了，但是呢这个穿红的衣服没有动的呢，他没有攻击。
So this contrasts with the previous 2 conclusions that the bull did all 3. The bull did all 3, the bull did all 3, and in the final one, they only attacked 2, not the 1.
Yeah, 所以最后这个结果不一样啊，所以跟前面两个形成很明显的对比。
And our conclusion is then in the 4th paragraph, the final paragraph. It says, this proved that red is not a factor, is not a reason for, is not a factor in why bulls charge matadors. It doesn't matter. It's not relevant.
好 ，something A is not a factor in B， 就是 A 不是 B 的因素之一，所以这个证明了这个红色并不是牛会冲向斗牛士的因素之一。
The whipping and swirling movement of their capes. Remember, the matador is moving the cape all around and very quickly. That's what most likely angers the bull, certainly not the color red.
Yeah, whipping 本来是用鞭子打哈，但在这里是指像鞭子一样那样的挥舞。还有呢 ，swirling 就是旋转，所以他在那挥，在那这个旋转这个他的 capes 啊 ，most likely 最有可能是会让这个牛生气的原因。
So why use a red cape at all? So why at the end do we have to change for this smaller red cape?
所以为什么要用红色的披风呢？
The answer, the red color better disguises or hides the bloody end of the poor beast.
Don't they drape the cape over the beast at the end?
I've never watched one, so I don't know what happens.
Yeah, 所以呢，为什么at all 就是那干嘛？根本他们这个 at all 有点像中文的那干嘛那种感觉，所以他干嘛要用呢？那答案是这个红色会比较好的 disguises 就是掩饰这个 the bloody end 我们可以翻成下场其实就是死亡了就这只可怜的这个野兽最后它的血腥的死亡血腥的下场会被这个红色的这个颜色稍微掩饰一下。
Okay, we have some questions for you. Number 1 is, according to the passage, which of the following statements is true?
根据本文，下列何者叙述正确？
The answer is C. Aggressive movements are what triggers bulls in bullfights.
答案是 C 斗牛赛中激怒公牛的是挑衅的动作。
Number 2, what seems to be the author's opinion about bullfighting?
何者应该是本文作者对于斗牛的看法呢？
The answer is A. He has no strong feelings on the matter.
答案是 A 他对这件事情没有强烈的感觉就在文章里面我们没有看出来这个作者对于斗牛表示了什么样的态度，他只是解释一些事情。
And number 3, which of the following best shows the organization of this passage?
下列何者最符合本文的结构呢？
B is the best descriptor of the structure. We start with an introduction, then a clarification where we make things clearer, then an illustration where we give an example, and then the conclusion.
好，答案是 B 引言到阐释到例证到结论，因为它是这个文章是以介绍斗牛这个竞技开始，然后接着解释牛其实看不到红色，然后举出例证在探索频道里面做的实验，那最后总结斗牛被激怒的原因，所以答案应该是 B。
Well, thanks for joining us today. We've had a great time helping you understand this lesson, and we will be back a couple more times this month. Until then,
Bye-bye.